Hi, Douglas Simonson here, coming to you from Mexico with another time-lapse video painting demonstration. Lately, I've been doing a lot of small acrylic sketches, and this is really good practice because I can do several of these in the time it would take me to do one big finished painting. Also, I don't need to set up an easel. I can just do it sitting at a table by my computer. So that's what you're going to see today. So what I'm going to be painting is a rear nude of Kainoa, one of my models from way back when I lived in Honolulu. And by the way, if you like Kainoa and you want to see more of him, there is an ebook on my website called Kainoa, and you can find it in the ebooks section. So anyway, Kainoa is what we used to call in Hawaii chop suey, which means he's really, really mixed ethnically. I think he's Japanese, Chinese, Hawaiian, Portuguese, Haole. Haole is Caucasian. Anyway, it mixed up really nice. And this is the photograph that I'm going to be working from. And this is the same photograph tweaked in Photoshop. And if you want to know how I do that, there is a video that explains it on this channel. So this is my setup, and I can draw while looking at the image on the computer. In this case, the drawing doesn't need to be detailed. I'm just making sure I've got things fairly accurate before I start painting. Once I've got the drawing more or less in place, I can start painting. So I bring out my palette, which has paint on it from the previous day's painting. What you're seeing here is a plastic container that keeps my paints fresh. This is the Masterson Paint Saver, and it's an airtight plastic box that fits my 9x12 palette. It seals really airtight, and then I put it in the refrigerator, and that'll keep your acrylic paints wet for days. I'll put a link to it in the description. Like I said, this is paint left over from the previous day's painting. I'm probably going to be able to use a lot of it, but it's already starting to dry, even with storing it in the fridge, so I freshen it up. To do this, I have my squeeze bottle filled with Liquitex Matte Medium. This is a milky liquid that you can add to any acrylic color to bring it back to life, as long as it's not too dry. And it does this without altering the color or opacity, as long as you don't use too much medium. So I'm taking all the mixtures from yesterday and adding medium to them. Some of these mixtures are usable for the painting I'm doing today, so I can start right in painting. I'm starting with the dark green vegetation behind the figure, and I'm using Hooker's green for this, with a bit of yellow oxide and ultramarine blue added. Next, I use some of the flesh tones from the previous day's painting to start blocking in the figure. Now, there are lots of ways to mix flesh tones, but basically, for the darkest shadows on the body, I use alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, and a bit of ultramarine blue. The lighter parts are basically a variety of muted oranges, which means yellow and red and a touch of blue. And you can use a lot of different yellows and reds. Experiment with it, find the colors you like. Now I'm going to do some more of the vegetation, so I need some lighter greens. Usually I use sap green and add some yellow oxide and or cadmium yellow, depending on how vivid I want the green to be. Then for the lighter greens of the lawn, I use some paint I already had. Sap green with some yellow, cadmium or yellow oxide, not sure which, and add some white to it. Then I mix yet another green for the darker parts of the lawn. Then for the top of the hedge where the light is hitting it, I use some vivid yellowish green I had from the day before. The shadow the figure is casting on the lawn, I use the same dark green I was using for the darkest parts of the hedge. Now I'm going to start on the sky using the colors Photoshop came up with in the tweaked photo because I like them and I think they'll look good. So I start with dioxazine purple and a bit of alizarin crimson and then some white to get the lavender clouds. Then for the light gray areas of the sky, I used some gray I already had, which was most likely ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and some white because that is my go-to mix for grays. Then for the turquoise areas of the sky, I bring out one of my favorite colors, but one I only use when it's really called for, and that's phthalo green. Phthalo is a really strong color, but sometimes it's just what you need. Then I also mix some blues, and for that I use ultramarine and phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is also very strong, but I like what it does to ultramarine when you add just a bit of it. And now I'm ready to start painting the sky. As I start filling in the sky around the pole that Kainoa has across his back, I realize I'd better make sure it's straight. For the sky, basically I'm just copying what I see in the tweaked photo. Of course, once I put the colors down, there's always some adjusting to do, usually adding a bit of white because some of the areas are too dark. Next, I mix some reds, well, pinks actually, for the towel Kainoa is standing on. That's easy, just one shade for the light part and one for the dark. And then I move on to the cement slab underneath the towel, and that's basically just shades of gray. Now that I've got the background mostly in place, I can go back to finish the figure. Now I'm just refining the lights and darks of the body using the flesh tones I already have mixed. Now I'm adding finishing touches, which just means putting in those things I either didn't get to earlier or didn't even notice until now. And it's done. I call this little acrylic sketch Rear Nude of Kainoa with Pole. You can see it now on my website at douglassimonson.com. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on more videos like this. And if you got a little inspired watching this, great! Put on your painting pants and go paint!